talk about the Purdie Shuffle. This is a legendary groove named after one of the most legendary drummers of all time, Bernard Purdie, and it's been played and recorded by a couple other drummers who also made their legends pretty great too. John Bonham, Jeff Porcaro, there's a number of others who have used this. We're going to talk about a couple different examples of this groove in recorded music, and I'm going to break it down and show you what are the basic elements. It's a little bit advanced, but it's not, I don't think, as tricky as maybe it sounds at first. It's just kind of breaking down the parts, working on them slow, and getting the sticking down, getting the pattern down. Just like anything, right? Once you get that, it's shedding the groove, playing it to a click, and working on the feel, recording yourself, making sure everything kind of fits where it needs to go. So that's pretty much all there is to the Purdie Shuffle. When we talk about shuffles, usually we think, like a blues shuffle. That kind of a thing, okay? This has that feel. It's swung, definitely, but it's what we might consider a halftime shuffle, meaning that rather than the snare drum falling on 2 and 4, the backbeat every time, this sort of falls on 3. Or if you think of it like a very slow beat, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, the snare drum waits till the long 2 and the long 4 to land. We're going to start with the hi-hat pattern, okay? And this is just a classic shuffle 8s, swing 8s, okay, versus straight or 16ths. We're going to swing them. And as we know, the shuffle 8s come from the triplet, right? Okay, well, I want you to make sure that when you play those shuffle 8s, you can hear that triplet inside of it, okay? Keep thinking that in your head, going 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 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 like that, okay? In fact, I want you to complete the triplet pattern with your left hand on the snare. Try that, just like this. Don't speed up now. Got it? 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 1. Yeah? All right, that's the basis of the Purdie Shuffle right there. Now, if you think about this groove, you think about it and you realize you have to have a backbeat, a big snare hit on 2 and 4. And in this case, because it's so slow, some people might think of it as halftime, right? But if my 2 and 4 is going 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, then think about where that would land in this triplet pattern. I'll use the bass drum to illustrate. So it's going. Right? You feel that why that would be a halftime? Dun, boom, dun, very laid back, right? Okay, so now here's the tricky part of this shuffle. I want you to try and land a snare drum hit on beats 2 and 4, where I was placing the bass drum before, and then go right back to your triplet pattern. So if you think about it, at some point, your snare drum's gonna have to do a double to land on the backbeat while also completing that triplet pattern. That looks like this. Okay, so I've got my triplets, right? And these triplets, they're basically acting as sextuplets, as 16th note triplets, if we're thinking about it in this slow tempo. So if I go 1 and 2, there's my snare hit. Try doing that. Try just going 1 and 2, like that. Yep, your right and left hands hit together on the backbeat. What's beyond that? The snare drum's going to have to go double to land that extra sextuplet after the backbeat. That looks like this. See that? Backbeat on the snare is the only one that's big. Everything else is tiny little movements. That's how we can get up to a quick speed, because none of these are large accented hits. Everything is very tight and small and just really creating this really cool feel. Okay? So here it is a little faster. And then do that again for 4. Tempo's really slow here. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Up to speed sounds like this. Let's talk about the bass drum. So the first thing we want to do is land the bass drum on the downbeat. Once you get that, then start adding an upbeat into the downbeat. Da-dum. Da-dum. Okay? Now the linchpin of this groove is that upbeat after the downbeat. Dum, dum. Dum, dum. Start to put those together, and you're really going to start to feel that Purdie shuffle. Last piece of the puzzle is the upbeat right before the backbeat. Of course, the bass drum is the thing that changes the most throughout these variations. So let's look at a couple classic examples and see where they're putting the cake. John Bonham from Led Zeppelin recorded this groove on the song Fool in the Rain off of their last album. Although he was a hard rock drummer, John was also a rhythm and blues fanatic, and he paid tribute with a few cool tweaks of his own. Check it out. Legendary session drummer Jeff Porcaro put his own spin on the Purdie Shuffle when he recorded it with his band Toto on the song Rosanna. He sped the tempo up and added a few touches of his own virtuosity. So there's only one drummer out there with enough charisma to have a whole shuffle named after him, and that's Bernard Purdie. This guy's story is as deep and colorful as his playing, and if you haven't heard of him before, I encourage you to check him out. He will change the way you think about drums. The best example of him playing his shuffle is the tune Home at Last by Steely Dan. So that's a little bit about one of my favorite patterns for the drums. It's a little bit complex, a little bit groovy, but it just feels great. And as drummers, that's what we should be about anyway, right? So in the future, Take care of yourselves, keep it swinging, and I hope to see you out there soon.